Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Apex Racing TV and welcome to the FRP iRacing Challenge. Another installment of Skip Barber Racing, and tonight it comes from the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, otherwise known as Motorsport in Canada. Andrew Woodhouse alongside Weihan Chan with Frederick Nichol on the cameras, and where we had a brilliant race last week, in addition to the first meeting of the season, which was tremendous at Lime Rock Park. What can we expect from this one? I think it's going to be brilliant. It's going to be very difficult for the guys out there, I reckon.
Oh yeah, sure will be. We've come from what was a fantastic race at Laguna Seca, and I think coming to Motorsport, it does bear quite a lot of similarities in terms of the way the track is. A lot of elevation changes, but of course, with this track, it is even more important to keep within the track boundaries, especially through this very corner. And I think it's just going to throw things up into a mix, where you have a lot of unpredictability for the drivers. And given that it is going to be two races of 25 laps, it will be very interesting.
Yeah, and I think that we've got to watch out for that long back straight that say we're looking at Max Esterson now, and that's the straight that he's heading onto. The slipstream's going to be massive here, and you can see the two teammates next to each other in qualifying, towing each other along, and I think that's going to be key for the qualifying lap, and it's going to be key in the race. We're going to see a lot of overtaking moves into this fast section at the end, coming up in just a few seconds' time for these guys. There's a really fast right-hander, and then an ever-decreasing sort of tightness of corner, left, then right, going into the final corner.
Yeah, this is the final sector. Of course, this is where a lot of drivers might find it a little bit challenging. Yes, like you just said, it is a decreasing radius corner, so the entry, it has to be very very stable. The drivers have to take the entry very carefully and kind of make it work through the corner. It is the essence. Now, because this is Motorsport, we will expect a lot of overtaking. Every corner is a good overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, indeed, it is, and many drivers are going to have quite a lot of experience at here, and especially the four Canadians we've got in the field: Megan Gilks, Connor Klebayne, Zachary Vanier, and Jean-Christophe Trehan. They're going to, well, most likely at least, have a good understanding of this track. We've got two 16-lap races for you today, and they're going to come to in the heat race format. So we're going to have qualifying, which is 20 minutes, as you can see on the screen. We've just had 4 minutes of the session, and then the grid will be decided by that. Race one will come and go, and then we'll have a short break, maybe 5 minutes or something like that, before we return for race two. So a lot to look forward to. If you like what you're seeing out here tonight, please follow us on all the social media, subscribe on YouTube, hit the like button below the video, and leave a comment telling us what you think of the Apex Racing TV action in the FRP iRacing Challenge. And we hope wherever you're watching us from, that you are staying safe and staying home and doing all the things you're supposed to be doing. And enjoying some iRacing is a really good way, I would say, Weihan, that people can pass the time, of course, in these times.
Yeah, I think with sim racing, in the way it just make the times a little bit, just a little bit more bearable. If it means that more of us can enjoy, in some ways, being able to enjoy racing despite real racing, the lack of real racing at this point. It's always nice to have sim racing along the way. Dylan Christie is your provisional pole sitter. We are 5 minutes into qualifying, and his lap time is a 133.016. So he is 2/10 of a second ahead of Colin Mullen, who you are seeing on screen at this point.
Yeah, and Mullen, we saw him be very good on the starts last week, got up into third place a couple of times, and then he really could push on from there, especially in the second race. See Scott Andrews in third, the Australian as well, who I don't think we've seen so far in this FRP challenge, but he is in third ahead of Jackson Lee. And then you've got Sykes, Esterson, Wright, Crab, August, and Rivard. That's your top 10 at the moment. I'm sure there'll be a few people, such as I'd say Reese Everard will probably be up in the top 10 by the end of the proceedings, as he was very quick in the last couple of meetings. As we're looking at Andrews now, the man with the Australian flag beside his name in car 44. And through this final sector, you can really see the beauty of the Skip Barber in terms of how it slides around. And that sliding Wayhan, it means that it's a very tricky car to master, because it is just so lively. You know, you're always making corrections, you're always having to kind of hang on to it, as you see there, the driver, and well, I'm not exactly sure who that was, but the driver ahead of Simon Sykes really looks like he's hanging it all out.
Because it is going to be very crucial for the drivers to be on top of their car all race long. Because especially for these couple of corners that are coming up, Clayton was the corner that was behind, and this corner that is coming up, a downhill one. The drivers have to keep it on track and not even dip the wheels on the grass, or they will be sent barreling into the barriers. Because this is the entry to Moss. This is another, this is where you have to get the best exit in order to get the best run down this straightaway along the backstretch here.
Yeah, and you mentioned the barriers. I mean, there are quite a few areas where you can see the slipstream in action. Look, as it's going down the back straight, you can see just how much time Simon Sykes is gaining. Really getting some good closing speed towards the end of the straight, and then through this right-hander, very tricky right-hander this, and trying to just carry the momentum, carry the speed through these last two corners, the left and then the right. The right's quite tricky. It's so easy to go in a bit too hot and have to lift off on the exit. You don't want to do that, especially in the Skip Barber. Comes across then Simon Sykes and does a 1:33.4, so not improving on this occasion.
Of course, that does retain him in third position. We do have Miles Crab, who has gone up to fifth, just put in a lap time. Because he is he has got another car behind him, so I think it is going to make things a little bit interesting. It nearly goes a little bit wide through the middle of that corner, but of course, if you do still have all four on track, good entry there. A little bit of a drifting, a little bit of a sliding. He does.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Brilliant to watch for us as commentators. Probably less brilliant for the drivers having to hang on to the car, but still, very, very fun car to watch this Skip Barber. Very fun car to race, it appears, as well. I was sorry, just to follow up on your point about barriers. There are sections where the barriers are very close. You can see on the straights here that there's barely any space to run off the track. There's areas like turn 2 where there is a bit of runoff area, but you can sometimes go so far out that you end up hitting something. So the drivers have just got to be careful, especially in the first couple of laps. And we will have, of course, rolling starts here. So it is going to be somewhat easier, I would think, for the drivers to avoid each other on that first lap.
I would reckon so. Of course, we do have a grid size of 26 at this point, so I think it should not be too difficult for drivers to be able to kind of make it through lap 1 safely. Of course, it is not exactly a wide circuit, so drivers will all have to be mindful about the track itself and where exactly they would be at every given point. Look, they are just kind of letting their rear end loose at these corners, especially. These cars are not exactly the most stable, but of course, if you are able to get a hang of the car, if you're able to kind of be on top of your car throughout the lap, this is going to serve you very well.
Yeah, I think car control around this place is going to be very, very important. Also making sure that you just avoid the contact. Skip Barber does come with the new iRacing damage model for those who haven't seen the last couple of rounds, and it can be extremely, no pun intended, extremely damaging to your race to have any mistakes. And we see that wheels can fly off, suspension can be broken very, very easily. Connor Klubine goes into 9th place, 1:33.2. Might be Klubine, or might be Klubine, I'm not sure. But either way, the Canadian into the top 10. As Dylan Christie, look, he goes, improves his pole time at the moment.
Yep, brilliant, and this does set himself a little bit further up. And of course, you do all when you're qualifying, and you want to try to maintain your provisional pole. You do want a lap time that is as far forward as possible.
Oh yeah, and in race one, you know, you do want to try and keep out of trouble as best you can, because it does mean that race two is set by the order of the finish. Oh, sorry, the finishing order of race one. So yeah, higher up you start. Sorry, higher up you finish, the higher up you will start, which is kind of unusual for these races, but it does mean that you've got to be mindful of how you're getting on in that first race. Esterson getting the slipstream off his teammate, obviously working very efficiently together. The Pelfrey drivers, yeah, Esterson getting a really good tow, and can he use that well? It's already set the fastest sector one of everybody so far. Good sector two. And let's see how he gets on in sector three. It looks like it could be pretty quick. Max Esterson, can he get the 1.5 tenths he needs to get onto pole position? Oh, he can. He can, and a bit more as well. Excellent lap by Esterson. Great slipstream, great tactics. And that puts him on the front row with his teammate.
I suggested that Colin Mullen has
Oh,
just taken the pole position from right under him, and that was a. I think he has done an even better lap time. But look, it was just by a mere 0.016 seconds, so it is very tight here. The timing for the provisional pole.
you definitely see that the team driving's paying off out there for a number of people. But yeah, very close, just 16 thousandths between them as they go into the last 7 minutes. And I think this track will be quite hard on the, even though the tyres aren't a major factor in this car, they could be punished by some of these very fast corners here at Motorsports. Look at the sliding going on there. Don't know who's quite behind Colin Mullen on the circuit, but he went absolutely sliding around. It was Simon Sykes. And let's see if the slipstream can help the driver at the back of this group, which I believe is... Oh, I can't read the number. Kyle August, there you go.
So Carl August is currently in 12th. His lap time at this point is 132.94. He needs a whole second in order to move himself up to pole position. What lap time is he going to set as he comes across the start-finish line? He does improve on his lap time. This pushes him up into 4th with a lap time of 1 minute 32.267.
Yeah, good lap by August using the toe as best he can. Charles Ante up into 4th, 33.3 for him. He's improving well. A lot of drivers setting personal best times actually out there at the moment. See that Chris Kearse did that, Ryan Bjerke did that on the previous lap as well. William Liston's just going to start a fast lap, I think. Reece Everard, Megan Gilk starting fast laps, I believe, as well. Oh, and there you go. There's William Liston getting... oh, that's not him, is it? I don't know who that was behind, getting very sideways, but Liston of Australia has come through turn 1. This is the tough part, I think. Turn 2, very fast downhill. Look at that sliding through there. Tell you what, you've got to be brave to pick your line and commit to it around turn 2.
Yeah, you surely do have to. Yeah, I think it is one
Oh,
of the Oh,
oh dear.
wow, that was a good entry, or rather, he did save that entry through the mid corner. Oh, but not the driver behind him.
Oh, he must have been. Well, Liston must have known he was on the stream. Who's the one behind? I'm not sure who that is behind Liston.
That would be Jason Petit.
16th place, Jason Pettit at the minute. Simon Sykes, the fastest sector 1 out of anybody. So that was looking good. Don't know if he's still on a lap. Who else is nearly finished the lap? Zachary Rivard set 2 very good sectors on this lap. Don't know if he's going to improve at all. He's currently in 11th place. In fact, he's just got up to 11th place. Rivard, Kies. Oh, what's going on there? Who's reversing across the... Oh, that didn't look great. I don't know who... I don't know if the red car managed to get through. It looks like they did just about. Don't know who was reversing across the track there, but that wasn't the smartest thing to do. So we got just under 3 minutes left. That's a replay of Charles Ante going wide. Here's a replay of Esterson. It's going to happen into turn 1.
We are in fact in live pictures. This is Max Esterson, who is offering a little bit of slipstream to the driver behind him, who is Dylan Christie. So both drivers are in 2nd and 4th respectively. 2/10 separating their fastest qualifying lap times, and the driver just ahead of Dan Clark. That would probably be Kyle August, his teammate, because they want to make good use of the slipstream. Perhaps doing so carefully through this downhill left-hander. Very important to keep on all fours through here onto Moss. And they are going to go for a good exit through this corner.
Yeah, and, onto the straight then for Clark. Don't exactly know how much time he's going to gain from this, but it should be quite good. He's got a double slipstream at one point at least. And the 2 yellow cars in front of him. Oh, and that's not gone well at all. That hasn't gone as well as that they thought that it would have done. See if Clark can improve. He's getting very, very held up. In the last couple of corners, let's see if what sort of time he does. Can he improve on 13th place? He does. He goes 7th, but I feel way that he might have got more in a perfect lap, really, a clean lap.
Yeah, exactly right. That does set him up quite a lot of positions, which is going to be very, very helpful come a race start. This is Simon Sykes, and he is sandwiched between his teammate and Scott Andrews behind him. So these drivers, they are also setting qualifying lap times. He does take the inside line. I think he was just trying to give way to Scott Andrews. Of course,
yeah,
he
Andrews
does
is on it at the moment. Sorry.
Oh yeah, it does seem to be. So of course, Andrews sits at 3rd at the moment. Reese Everett just set his fastest qualifying time that moves him up to 6th.
Oh, big
And
one.
oh,
Simon Sykes off and into the wall. And that's going to be the end of his qualifying session. I think it would have been anyway, to be honest. Because the time is now up. The checkered flag is now out. So, and that's the end of the qualifying, because, yeah, it was it just as finished, isn't it? So, all right, there we go.
Yep, as the cars begin gritting up here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, I think, we've come to one of the more spectacular tracks for Skip Barber racing. I think this is perhaps going to be very much similar to Laguna Seca, where the drivers, just have their rear end loose all race long. But of course, as opposed to Laguna Seca, where we did see some rallycross racing, I don't think that will be in any ways possible here at Motorsport.
Yes, indeed, and I don't know if you could do with taking us through the grid, because I'm having a few issues with my screen. I can't get to see the information at all.
Sure, starting from pole position will be Max Estes, and he has set the fastest lap time. And Jean-Christophe Trehan I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I got a grid wrong. Colin Mullen starts from pole position and Max Esterson alongside him in second. Scott Andrews in third and Dylan Christie will begin from fourth. Kyle August and Rhys Everett will begin from fifth and sixth. Connor Cobain and Dan Clark from seventh and eighth. Simon Sykes and Jackson Lee from ninth and 10th. Jean-Christophe Trehan and Christopher Wright will begin from row number 6, 11th and 12th. Zachary Rivard, Charles Ante, 13th and 14th. Miles Crabb and Chris Kears in 15th and 16th. Nolan Allaire and Jason Petit from 17th and 18th. Zachary Vanier and Ryan Bilker from 19th and 20th. We've also got a couple more drivers beyond the 20th positions. Joel Selmans, Megan Gilks, William Liston, Alton Hook, and Brandon Uwe, as well as Omar Khan. These drivers round up your 26 race starters here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Perfect. Well, just looking at the weather out there, it's 97 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's on the track, and it's 72 in the air. So, driver, it's a fairly warm day, fairly sunny day. So the grip's going to be somewhat at a premium, but I think we've got all the ingredients for a good race today. The iRacing pace car is taking them around, and yeah, there's a few drivers in very, very close quarters. It always amazes me, way honestly, how some drivers just seem to really get right behind another car on the pace lap. there's no point. You have a bit of space.
Yeah, look, yeah, I think it's just instinctive. You know, when you do see an object in front of you, you want to get as close up as possible, even
True.
though it is the pace lap. Now, look, the drivers are trying to weave about. They're trying to get as much heat into the tires as possible to try to get as much grip as they can to get the best out of their opening laps. It's very important because the first few laps will kind of solidify your position for the rest of the race.
Yeah, and I can see we're looking at Charles Ante, qualified in 14th place. Colin Mullen was very good on the starts last week, so I hope, I wonder exactly if he's going to get a good one today, as his qualifying lap was very good. And what are we expecting in race one, do you think? Do you think we're expecting something well behaved, or do we think drivers are going to be very eager to get to the front to try and get that pole for the second race?
Well, look, given the fact that there are two races, I don't think drivers will be that quick to kind of grab it, because don't forget, you don't win a race on the first corner, but in fact you might even lose a race over the first corner. It is 16 laps, and
Yes.
drivers will have plenty of time to make their race overtakes count.
Here we go then. Pace car is in, and it's Colin Mullen who's going to lead us to the green flag here at Motorsport. And round the final corner, the flagman's going bananas as normal, but here comes Colin Mullen then over the line. In fact, Esterson crosses the line first on the first lap. Mullen takes the inside line though. That's where the grip is on the first lap. Oh, and that's Esterson wide and bobbling back onto the circuit and down the hill in turn two. Got to be very, very brave indeed to trouble the outside of the circuit. There we got two spinners in the middle. Everybody's flying around trying to stop, trying not to hit them, but a few drivers were unsuccessful, that's for sure. And I think it was, Clubin was one, and possibly Rivard, and possibly Sykes, I think, was off in that one as well.
That was an unfortunate start to the race for the drivers in the mid-pack. Quite a few drivers, numerous drivers, having been tangled at within that incident. We might be able to have a look at it later on in the race. This is a very neat battle freight train here. It is led by Colin Mullen, and there are so many cars along the backstretch. Of course, drivers don't seem to be out for an overtaking move this soon yet, but we do see some defensive choices of line. Of course, third place driver Max Esterson, he did begin from pole He does go along the inside, and it would look like one of the cars almost went wide there, and that has cost him quite a few positions.
Yeah, and that's what exactly can happen at this track. As Colin Mullen leads the first lap, we seem to have lost Charles Ante, Christopher Wright, Ayrton Hook. Then on the first lap, they must have been the ones that came to grief. The synchronized spinning from the two men who were off, and then yeah, the other one following them in. Not a lot he could do. But we're looking at Zachary Rivard.
So because there was a nasty incident that took that car out, he had to
Oh,
go.
and that's Mullen. Mullen wide. He's lost the lead to Andrews.
Yeah, it is always so easy to even a corner like Moss. It is easy to get yourself unstuck at that point because with these cars and this track, all you have to do is just get one wheel into the grass and your car will barrel outwards into the runoff. This is Scott Andrews who is in the lead, but he's got a lot of traffic coming up behind him. Colin Muller, Max Esterson, these two drivers fighting for second. And also Dan Clark trying to get a piece of this as well, and Dylan Christie who's just a fair bit behind there. Because Scott Andrews still holds on to the lead. He comes upon the final corner, a little bit wide he goes, but he still manages to keep his car on all fours as he comes around turn one. Max Esterson up to, or rather Dan Clark up to second, Max Esterson in third.
More drivers we've lost on that lap. Joe Selmans, Brandon Newey, Omar Khan dropping well down the order. Simon Sykes a long way back now as Andrews leads the way from the pole sitter Mullen, who's having a look up the inside. Dan Clark's in third. We saw him have good pace in qualifying. Couldn't really use the full extent of it as his fast lap was, I'll be honest, pretty poorly blocked. It looked like. And then you've got Esterson and Christie in fourth, Esterson in fifth, and then Reese Everard, who's always there or thereabouts, seems to be in sixth, and Kyle August trying to tag onto the group. And Andrews goes wide, as it's so easy to do. We saw it happen to Colin Mullen, and it's happened again to the second leader of the day.
Yeah, but of course he did make it through that corner a little bit unscathed. Your race leader, Colin Mullen, Dan Clark in second, and look, these drivers, they are going at it again. This is Colin Mullen trying to go along the outside. Yeah, nearly going three wide there, but of course they don't force it if they're not able to. And who's that along the inside? Would appear to be Mullen. Along the inside, he is challenging Scott Andrews for second place, but he's got a lot of traffic from behind. This is all about trying to be at the right position at the right time across the S's.
Everard is absolutely on it. He's just taken fourth place away from Christie. He's about to take third place away from Mullen into turn one as he throws the car in. He's very, very confident driver is Everard, and he is making the most of his early pace in this one. There were 3x3. The NASCAR boys have been at Talladega this week. Well, that resembled the pack racing you get on the super speedways as they were going down the back straight. It was all nicely resolved though, and everybody, Wayhan, at least for now, still has four wheels on the car.
Oh, yeah, unlike perhaps just moments ago, we did see some interesting effects of the damage model. Who's this? Who's getting good use of the slipstream? We ride on board Dylan Christie, and we get a good perspective of the battle for third going on between Colin Mullen and Reese Everard. These two drivers are so close up with each other. It is nail biting. In fact, they make use of the slipstream. I think Christie will also try to get some effects out of this slipstream to try to close that gap, although he is a little bit far away. Everard going to go along the outside, perhaps making a drag race out of this. And he does get a little bit ahead. He does edge Mullen out by a little bit. So, we have seen a shuffle of the race lead for quite a bit.
Oh, wow. And look at this. Look at the speed that Christie takes into that final sector as he's got the best seat in the house of this battle between Reese Everard and Colin Mullen. Incidentally, Dan Clark did take the lead briefly, but Andrews got it back in the down the straight. So, yeah, that's worked out well for Scott Andrews this time.
Now, of course, we don't in fact have incident limits here at this race. This is Jean-Christophe Trehan and
Oh, somebody cutting
what
the
would appear to
inside
be
there.
William List.
Yeah, Elliston going very close to the inside curb. Somebody going very wide in the background and off. I think it might have been Ryan Bjerke possibly going off, but yeah, it was. Oh no, it was. Yeah, it was Bjerke then going very, very off in the first couple of corners. As you see, this lead battle then it's starting to split into two packs. We've also lost Nolan Orlaya, Jason Pettit, as well as come to grief on that previous lap. Miles Crab's got ahead of Zachary Vanier for 9th place. That's just that was on the previous lap as something I think happened to Vanier. Let's see indeed what did happen. Oh, and he just loses. Oh, he loses control on the way in. Spins. Thankfully for him, keeps it out of the wall and keeps it off of any other cars as well. So good, good stuff there.
Carl August goes for the move up to P5, but he did almost lose the car a bit along the left of the S's, and he does return to P6. Now, of course, along the S's, a bit out wide goes Dylan Christie, but he still manages to keep his car. He manages to remain on top of his car, and he does let his rear loose a little bit through the first corner. Now, the key to getting the most out of this car, sometimes you do have to get the rear end ever so loose.
Zachary Rivard sets the fastest lap of the race, then 132.54. He's got up onto the back of this group now, which is now an 8-car scrap for the win. And we've still got 11 laps to go, so it's going to be one that rages on for quite some time. As Rivard's first target is Max Esterson, who was on the front row of the grid. And I tell you what, this is this may come to boiling point very, very soon, because very, very hard to get away. And even though the group split a tiny bit, this might be the opportunity for the front four actually, as Christie gets very out of shape in the tight right-handers of Moss, and this yeah, it won't allow the front four to just get a bit of a gap. They've got 1.1 seconds now. Oh my goodness!
A bit of a lap traffic at that point, but of course that does not go in the way of these drivers.
I'm sorry, it just looked like that Esterson was thinking about the 3 wide there.
This is just brilliant stuff. We do get a brilliant perspective of this far-away scrap from riding aboard Zachary Rivard. Although we did see him fighting up front during the last race last week at Laguna Seca. He is in 8th at the moment. So it is a little bit of a change that we are getting used to.
Well,
of course, teammates.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Well, we saw last week though the fact that all it takes is one error from the front group, and then the chasing pack can join back together again. And Scott Andrews will be hoping that those errors are coming from Clark, Everard, and Mullen. And Andrews has now gained from Clark being in the lead, to it's now Andrews in the lead by 7/10 of a second nearly.
Yeah, I would imagine so. If you are in front and you do see a mirror full of one car, that's going to be quite scary. But if you do see a mirror full of a few cars, which is exactly what it is at this point, the drivers from second, third, and fourth, they can battle it out. But of course, whilst they do so, they risk losing their pace. But these drivers might have conspired with alongside one another to try to close that gap with Scott Andrews. Of course, these drivers making good use of the slipstream.
They also might conspire with each other to take each other out. If they get any closer than Kyle August got to the back of Max Esterson's car that time. But yeah, you're right. They need to close this gap, because without that gap, they will not be getting the win. They will not be getting on the podium, and that is, of course, where they want to be. You want to really be starting in the first 2 rows if you can help it. It seems to be where you can avoid the carnage, judging by these 5 races that we've had so far in the FRP iRacing Challenge.
We are about the halfway point of the race. Of course, a total of 16 laps. We are at lap 8. This is Vanier, who is sitting in 11th, and he is in between his Canadian team, his fellow countrymen in 10th, and William Liston in 12th.
Yeah, and just having a look, actually, is going wide there is Vanier, but managing to survive that one. Yeah, I mean, this is, as far as we are aware, this is the final round that we're broadcasting for the time being of this FRP iRacing challenge. So, well, it's been very, very fun so far. If there are more races, it'd definitely be great to call them here on the channel. But this is the second pack of drivers who've dropped off to 1.8 seconds now, and this battling amongst themselves is only really causing them to drop further back. Because any time where you're side by side with other drivers, you are losing time just pretty much by default.
And that is exactly the kind of balancing act that the drivers will have to make. You know, do you go side by side and try to make that one position up, or do you
Well,
keep in line with everyone and collectively not collectively gain pace and close the gap with the drivers even further ahead? It's all about thinking
I'm
a few
I'm sorry to
steps ahead.
butt in. I'm sorry to butt in actually, but Everard's taken the lead. He took the lead sometime in the last lap, and yeah, we didn't quite see it on the screen, but yeah, Everard's up into lead, and that's about the fourth different leader of the day, Wehan. But I'm sure it won't be the last. I'm sure somebody else will lead by the end.
Yeah, this is always so amazing. You know, Reese Everard is up to the lead, but of course, Scott Andrews is not looking to let that go just yet. Or they come across Moss. Of course, you know these. They do get a good exit through that corner, and Everard leads this. What is a four-way battle pack, and we ride on board Colin Mullen. So I think Scott Andrews, he can pounce anytime now, and he does decide to do so. He takes the left side lane, and he does make a little bit of a leap ahead of Scott Andrews. So this could cement his race lead if he makes his move work through the S's. He does have a little bit of a faster pace. He goes along the outside. We ride on board Dan Clark, and he is set behind Colin Mullen. But of course,
Oh,
oh, that is so close. Reese Everett goes for the comeback. Oh, a little bit of contact, and we lose the nose tip of Dan Clark. But this is the iRacing damage model in full effect, and Everett still holds on to his newly found race lead.
he may have just got away with it, Clark. Barely, but I mean, it was all closing up. think I said it last week to you. I always marvel at these drivers in these cars. Usually, and I say usually with bated breath, just in case anything goes on with the leaders, but they can run so close to one another without contact. I think it is truly amazing, because I know it's something that in my iRacing career I have struggled with, being able to run. I mean, look at them. They're running like 1/10 apart. I mean, it's a crazy amount of trust and judgment that you have in the other drivers. And I will say, by the way, that this group of drivers have, as we've done these 3 races, have been some of the best and respectful single-seater drivers I've ever seen on a race that I've broadcasted, in terms of how well behaved they've been, and how closely they've raced and how quickly they've raced.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, look, I think
Oh,
you know this does play into effect to make the racing standards top notch in this FRP series. Scott Andrews retakes the race lead,
oh, and
and
I say
Dan
that was
Clark might be
contact.
thinking. Well, this does mean that Scott Andrews has been able to build himself an additional buffer. He is at least a second ahead of the rest of the drivers. Reese Everard leads the rest of the drivers, and Mullen sits in third. Clark and Esterson trying to look at going too wide. We ride on board Zachary Rivard, who is currently in 8th, and this is a battle from 2nd through to 8th. Esterson and August in front of him, and he is trying to look to plow through this wall. He goes along the inside of August, and he does make this move work.
Yeah, just about. I think he's just cleared him. Or has he? No, there he is. He's still there. He's still on the left-hand side. He briefly got ahead once more, Kyle August. But Rivard manages to complete the pass. Really well done. So Mullen's got 1.4 seconds then. Can he keep it? Can the drivers behind focus on catching him? Because if they don't... Oh, there's some damage there. I saw a part go flying. I think it'll be a nose cone. I'm not sure who it belongs to, but it certainly went flying down the main straight.
That's going to cost the driver quite a lot in terms of pace. He is already falling a few positions down the grid because Reese Everard is so close behind Colin Muller. He wants to try to make this work.
Do we know who lost that part of the nose? Oh, it was well, I can see that actually along my... I don't know about your screen, but Dan Clark doesn't have a nose cone cover on my screen.
Yeah, I think he did lose it from an earlier contact, but it took some time for that part to just swing loose and become detached from the car. He does appear to have his front wing on my screen though, and that would mean that he would still have some downforce to keep him fast along the corner.
We saw Reese Everard, have this problem at Lime Rock Park, and he managed to finish second. So it is possible. Oh, there he goes. There goes Clark, though, and that is well, he won't be finishing second. That's for sure on this one. And yeah, Clark coming a cropper at that time at the Moss corner. Everard then, good overspeed on the long straight, trying to clear Colin Mullen before the S's section. My goodness, look at this. Oh, and absolutely diving in there was Mullen, and he does clear Everard. That's brilliant driving by Mullen. It means that Andrew's still ahead. He'll be going like the clappers to try and extend this lead somewhat, because it's very difficult, of course, when you don't have any slipstream. Kyle August has had a big problem. He's crashed, apparently, according to the timing tower, and that would corroborate because he's flying down the order.
So Scott Andrews has been able to maintain his lead. His gap ahead of Colin Mullins is at 1.4 seconds, so this is quite a comfortable margin he has ahead of everyone else. He wants to try to maintain this, as of course we are 3 laps to go, and although at this point it could be anyone's race at this point, Everard and Mullen perhaps thinking of going too wide through that downhill corner. We did lose that action as we have a look at Connor Klubin, who is just alongside Ryan Bjerke as they go through this downhill left-hander. This is going to be so tight. Of course, these drivers do make it work. They don't exactly go fully too wide, but Bjerke tries to go along the inside, which is now the outside.
Yeah, very tricky to make that one work, but they did. Well done to them. Everard and Mullen then, they've gained 1/10 on Scott Andrews on this lap. It's not going to be quite enough at that rate, and they don't want to battle too hard, I think. I think they want to reel Scott Andrews in if they can, and Andrews is desperately trying to keep just an arm's length. He wants to maintain that social distancing, that's for sure, and stay away from this lot.
Yeah, and I think he is doing that just fine. But of course, that could also be due to the fact that the drivers from second onwards, they are battling among themselves, and that does kind of affect pace just by a little bit. We come on board with Rivard again. He has come up to 6th. He was in 8th just moments ago. And that is in front. That is Everard going a little bit off the racing line, which does set him a little bit.
Oh, crash! Oh, that's all of them gone. That's all of them gone. And Rivard's wheel has appeared again, but his suspension is damaged. Look at that, it's buckled. Yeah, he's not going to be able to drive that. Oh, now the wheel is the wheel's completely gone now. A couple of broken wheels then out on the circuit for a couple of drivers, including Christie. Oh, and something else has flown off one of the cars there. Christie goes into the wall because he can't steer the car. And that is the way as Miles Crabbe goes up into 4th place. That is the way, Wayhan, to end any speculation about who's going to, well, maybe not win the race because Colin Mullen's still up there, but to end an exciting battle, shall we say. Max Esterson has got serious problems because Miles Crabbe is much, much quicker at this point. No, well, to heck with it, really. Miles Crabbe, he wants the bubbly.
There we go again, man. Everyone take a pint. Yeah, well, look, that
It's
was
gone
not
up from a
exactly.
shot to a pint now. There's a pint this week. You're trying to kill it, trying to kill everybody. I'll tell you what, though, that accident, well, that was the end of quite a few drivers, wasn't it? They don't need to take any shots to be done for after that one. And yeah, I don't know precisely if any of that damage can be repaired. There is a fast repair in this series, so yeah, they can potentially do that. We have a few drivers who had troubles earlier on who are back out there. Nolan Olaya and Jason Pettit looks like they're back out. Ayrton Hook, Omar Khan still racing. Now we're looking at Jean-Christophe Trehan, and he's trying to get past Dan Clark's battered car. I think at this point, though, Wayhan, honestly, oh my word, as they nearly crash. I was going to say at this point, it's probably worth someone like Clark just trying to bring the car home if it's damaged. And yeah, you know, only 2 laps to go. You can still get a decent finishing position in relation to the other people who crashed.
Yeah, we're just curious to know how well Clark would be able to hold on to his position. He did just lose one. Train just overtaken. Yeah, these guys, Rival, Gilks, and Sykes, or rather just Rival, he has gone into the pits. He has made his fast repair work.
Oh, he had these repaired? Fair enough.
Yeah, I would think that they did make that fast repair, so he is back in the mid pack.
That's a good decision, I think, because it means that he can have a good lap. He might be able to get a place or maybe 2, and see if he can make this work for him. So Scott Andrews, I tell you what, we might have a fight on our hands for the win. Scott Andrews leads the way still, but without that big battle that he was in, Colin Mullen has managed to get within half a second where it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yep, the gap has been closed. Well, that is quite surprising. Of course, as we just said, that a little bit of a mistake does Mullen, and that is going to undo all of the efforts that he has made to try to close in that gap.
Yeah, that's going to do it for him. I think that's done and dusted for Mullen. So Scott Andrews then is going to come round the last sector of the lap. Any second now, he's going to be into the fast right-hander, and he's only got to keep it clean now through the last 2 corners after this one. And he is going to come through, and the Australian driver is going to come home and take the win here in the FRP iRacing Challenge. Heat 1 of the evening goes to Scott Andrews. Colin Mullen in 2nd place. Could have had, oh dear, could have had it. But obviously not too happy with finishing 2nd, I guess. But Miles Crabbe in 3rd, and then Esterson in 4th, Jean-Christophe Trehan in 5th. He'll be very happy with that, I think, ahead of Dan Clark. Liston in 7th, and then Lee August just going to get 9th after he crashed earlier on. The fact that everyone else crashed actually after him, I think meant in the end that he was there. Megan Gilks and Ryan Bjerke then to the line. It's going to be the Canadian driver, the W Series driver, who takes that position there ahead of Bjerke. Simon Sykes in 14th. And Dylan Christie is going to finish the race. I think he doesn't have an awful lot left of his car. I think he did make it in for the... Oh, yeah, he did make it in for the fast repair. There we go. So Christie's going to come over and finish his 16th lap. He's going to complete the finishing order for Heat 1. And so Stick with us, by the way, on Apex Racing TV, because at the other side of the break, we are going to have race 2, heat 2, and that's going to be decided on the finishing positions from race 1. So they're going to have a really good scrap out there, and we've got 10 minutes of warm up. So I think in fact, we'll run down the starting grid when we come back after the break here on Apex Racing TV. We'll be back soon. 5 minutes. Welcome back to Apex Racing TV and the FRP iRacing Challenge at the Motorsports circuit in Canada. Andrew Woodhouse, Weihan Chan, and Frederick Nichol on the cameras, bringing you all the action from Heat 2 of the day. The grid is on the screen for this race, and Scott Andrews, the winner of race 1, is on pole. Colin Mullen in second. Miles Crabb will be very happy, I'm sure, with them starting in third place. Max Esterson in fourth. Jean-Christophe Trehan in fifth. Dan Clark sixth. He was quick in that race and ended up having damage and then a spin. William Liston in seventh. Jackson Lee eighth. Carl August ninth. 10th. Conor Clubin. Zachary Rivard in 11th. Megan Gilks in 12th. And then 13th is going to be Ryan Bjerke. And Simon Sykes in 14th. 15th. Dylan Christie. 16th. Chris Kerse. Jason Pettit in 17th, Nolan Allire in 18th, 19th for Zachary Vanier ahead of Ayrton Hoop in 20th, 21st Omar Khan, 22nd Reese Everard, 23rd Brandon Newey, Joe Selmans is 24th, Christopher Wright 25th, and then lining up at the back of the grid in 26th is going to be Charles Ante, who's the first one out of the race this last time round. And what are we expecting from this one as the drivers are going round on the pace lap then?
Well, I think based on the race that happened just moments ago, the first race, we did see some drivers who have unfortunately been wiped out at various points of the race, in fact. So, what happened earlier was that during the first couple of laps, there had been one incident on wipeout. And I think towards the end of the race, also, some of the drivers towards the front end of the field had also had some incidents come their way. So we hope that does not happen again for the second race. But of course, what is to be expected by drivers is that this given it is small sport, it will be challenging for drivers to keep everything on all fours, and it will all be about trying to be on top of your car all race long.
Yeah, that is key, isn't it? And I think we saw it's that old saying again, the one that I said a couple of weeks ago, where as the race goes on, the gaps and the opportunities seem to get bigger and bigger for the drivers, and that seemed to be what happened in that last race with all that close quarters racing. In the end, they're coming too close, but it's going to happen every now and again in cars like this, that is for sure. So Scott Andrews, do we think he can do the double way? Do you think he can make this one work as well for him?
Well, Scott Andrews does have the pace. He had things go his way in race 1, but of course we've also seen at various points that the lead did change at various points, and it is going to be anyone's game for race 2.
I think you're right. I think that's the way to sum up any of the races really in the Skip Barber. Scott Andrews, the Australian, is going to lead us to the green flag. And there it is flying, and then we are away. Andrews leads then from Mullen. Miles Crabb slots into third. Esterson in fourth. Clark trying to start very, very quickly in fifth. Trehan, Liston, Lee, August and Rivard is the top 10 as we go through the first corner, but Esterson already pushing on Miles Crabb, who'll be looking to stay with this front pack. It's already cars slightly wide in turn 2 and having to recover, and they're all scattering as somebody's going quite slow on the outside, and they're going even slower now after that contact. And there's 4 or 5 cars off. That's quite a big shunt. Jason Pettit, Conor Clubin, Ryan Bjerke, and I think possibly Everard was in there maybe as well.
Oh yeah, that was a huge shunt indeed at this point of the field. This is the mid-pack, which is approximately positions 11th to 16th, because there are more drivers than that. So I think especially as they entered that part of the circuit, when you are so wide, when you have so many cars abreast at such a narrow section, it is easy to kind of to tangle up at various points. Miles Crabb sits in 6th. We are having a look at him, and also
Mullen's
the drivers that are around him.
Mullen's in the lead. He's just got past Andrews into that right-hander at the end of the straight.
So of course this can't be anyone's race. Mullen does have the pace to fight for the race lead, and Scott Andrews, of course, Mullen going a little bit wide there, and so does one of the drivers along in 5th or 6th position.
I think Liston's off. I think I don't know if he looked like he got shoved off the track at the final corner. It's very, very wide. Goes Scott Andrews, and he's going to surely lose a position to Esterson. I would imagine. Oh, and there's a crashed car. There is a crashed car, and it looks like it's Simon Sykes. That is a big problem. Oh yeah, there is the crash. Let's see it. Sykes turns in and loses the rear. Oh, and there's only one way for him to go after that.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate incident for him, and given the damage model of these skip barbers, you do have to spend a little bit more time in the repairs. Scott Andrews is gone down to second. He does have Max Esterson in tow, and so is Dan Clark, part of this a kind of a four-way slipstream battling in place. It is Rivard and Krabs, or rather Crab, in fifth and sixth. These two guys are too wide. They are fighting it out for position 5.
So drivers who are in the pits or out of the race. Bjerke, August, Klubin, Jokes, Sykes, Orlayer, Hook, Khan, Selmans, Trahan, and Pettit. Everard, Bjerke, and Klubin then have been into the pits for a fast repair, so they are coming out now, just ahead of the leaders. A few seconds ahead of the leaders. They may not bother them at any point though during this one. Zachary Rivard in the middle of this pack sets the fastest lap, and looking at Ryan Bjerke, I think has had an incident. Oh my word! Look at that. That was a big one. I'm not sure who that was with. There's wheels exploding and everything's going on.
Oh my!
That was like somebody shot the cork off the bubbly on that one.
Hey, there we go. Get everyone another pint. Yeah, look, it is always an iRacing work in progress. They are trying to make things as good as possible, but sometimes things do go a little bit wayward, and boom, the car would sometimes explode on.
There's nothing more fun in any game or simulation than physics going wrong. I always think it's like somebody's hit that Sebastian Buemi button and the wheels have just flown off, as he found out to his cost in 2010, the Swiss driver.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I think that was completely unexpected. This is Mullen along the outside. He goes for it with Scott Andrews again, and so does Esterson along the outside, trying to make this synchronized. Because the drivers along the inside, first and third respectively, Andrews and Clark, they kind of edge it out. But as they come to the S's, it's all about trading lines, trading positions, and
it's so brilliant when they get so close to each other in that situation, though. Yeah, Wright's gone, Wright's out, or at least he's having to tow back to the pits. So unfortunate for him. Everard's still going, but he's at the back of the field. Christie's in 14th. So it's two very quick drivers, quite a long way down. And I don't think they'll be troubling the top 10 unless there's some issues further forward, which there could well be. I blame myself, actually. It's all my fault since I said that the drivers were driving really cleanly and really well earlier on.
So this is Mullen sitting in third. Of course, he is very close behind Dan Clark. He wants to try to get whatever move he can make work. From 4th to 6th, it is Esterson, Rivard, and Crab. Of course, that is Jackson Lee going a little bit slidey there through Moss. It is not easy to take that corner.
Well, this battle, just like in race 1, that was 8 cars. This comprises of 7 cars, and they are all jockeying for position. This is the time in the race really where you don't want to do anything too silly. Because realistically, you're not going to break away from these, you're not going to get a big lead. So is there really a point trying? It's just a general question, just trying to fight to get to the very front, because unless everybody crashes behind you like we saw in race 1, you're not really going to get a great deal of benefit from being up there.
Yeah, I think it's all about trying to make everything work nicely. You can't always there won't always be an incident to kind of shuffle up the grid. When races do go to plan, it's all about the overtaking. This is William Liston And Charles and T, it is a fight for 10th position. Both drivers going at it hard, and they come upon Clayton Corner. This is by far, I would find the trickiest corner at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It is very easy to get your tires dipping the grass along the outside, and that would be enough to send you over and under.
Oh yeah, you cannot get back on. Once you go out there, you cannot get back on very, very quickly at all. It's like that first corner at Lime Rock Park. You go wide there, and you take a long, long trip to get back to the racing surface. Liston is defending hard. Then, Ante is defending hard from Liston, and William gets a good run out of Moss Corner. But more importantly, sadly for those guys, is the battle for the lead, and it's raging on as it so has for these two races so far today. Andrews leads, Mullen second, then it's Clark, then Esterson, Rivard, Crabb, and Jackson lead. This is the top 7.
We're back again with Charles
Oh.
Ante and William Liston. This is quite a good battle that is going on. What's amazing about the FRP series is that you do have battles going on all throughout the field, not just on the pointy end of the grid.
Indeed. Liston making a good move there to get through. Looked like he was being quite, he looked like he was being held up a fair bit, actually, Liston. So, be interesting to see if he manages to break away from Ante, as there is somebody off. Looks like Omar Khan possibly going off there in turn 1. And turn 2, he does well. Oh, I was going to say he did well to stay, and that's the one-way trip to the wall, is that, unfortunately, for Khan. That's a shame for him, but it's always difficult when you go out that wide on turn 2. The marbles are very much in play, and you do get, you do get some dirt on your tyres. It's not always that easy to do. Now, the lead battle's coming up on Dylan Christie, so that's going to be quite interesting in a minute. But Mullen leads the way now. Andrews flying in, carrying a lot of speed, maybe slightly too much speed, as Dan Clark trying to take advantage of Mullen really having to go wide, not through his own choice, and Clark really on the prowl looking for P2.
Of course, this is anyone's battle at this point. Mullen has the pace to make it work, to give Andrews a run for his money. Of course, we did see in race 1 that the race lead did swap many times. And of course, Andrews is not going to be comfortable for him, because he cannot rest. And it must be very nerve-wracking for him, as he is constantly battling or he's constantly trying to defend his race lead. We ride on board Jackson Lee, and we do have a good perspective of what is a 7-way battle pack.
Yeah, it could be a great place to watch, or it could be the worst place to watch from. But he does have a good overview of the situation, shall we say? As these skip barbers really, really well suited to this circuit, I think. This big long straight, great for overtaking, and the long sweeping corners making for exciting driving. But Andrews isn't going to be too excited at the moment, because Mullen, well, he's trying to go around the outside. It's very difficult to go around the outside. And once again, all Andrews really has to do is just chuck his car into that right-hander, and he can maintain the position.
Yeah, it's also all about positioning your car at the right time, at the right places along the track, which is probably what William Liston is trying to, or rather Charles Ante is trying to do. Of course, they come upon the S's, and it would be a case that Charles Ante has not been able to find an opportunity to make his overtaking move work. Liston leads him into the final corner, and we are back with Mullen. Look, no overtaking moves exactly at this point, but they are, because these corners, it's not exactly easy to make your overtaking moves work.
Also, as if you put yourself in the shoes of Dylan Christie, it really is not easy when. Oh, is it actually Jason Pettit? Actually, Whoever's just in front of this lead group, put in their shoes. There's nothing worse than being a lapped car and seeing a group of about 7 cars, you know, descending upon you. Oh, Connor Clubbean. I reckon he's better just pulling off to the side, and he's doing. Yeah, that's a great job there. Just pull off to the side and let them all through in one go, and that way he loses less time himself than if he had to individually let through 7 cars. So that's smart, and maybe he can stay on the back of this group as well potentially. Jackson Lee's dropped off now; he's 2 seconds off the lead, so he might be able to just stay with the group. But he looks like he's just had a lap or two, maybe a slightly scruffy couple of laps.
To see a little bit of particles flying around here and there. It could be tire marbles. It could also be someone's nose cone. Remember, the skip barber has a very, very small nose cone in front that can come loose with little contacts like this. Mullen still leads Scott Andrews, and it is going to be Dylan Clark who might look for a move. He did try to look for one through that corner, but I think he's going to have to wait for a while more for his opportunity to come to make the best out of this move.
Just like in the previous race, we're not that far away from the time where the moves are going to have to be made. Or the drivers are going to think they're going to have to be made anyway. Like we say, that window of opportunity getting ever smaller in terms of time, in terms of laps, in terms of chances. And here's Dan Clark then in 3rd place, currently in a good position. He was nearly in quite a bad position as Andrews just moves out from the slipstream of Mullen. Clark kind of boxed in here, Way, and it's going to be hard for him to try and forge a path past these two, certainly.
Just listen to the tires screeching with each corner that they make. With these big, kind of similar to road going tires, I would believe. It doesn't exactly offer the most grip, but it is very, very tough. These things can last a long, long time.
Yeah, and it always helps with things like that. In terms of sort of leveling the playing field off, it's really down to driver skill, and these guys are certainly skillful to throw these skip barbers around at this speed. I'm pretty sure I would be somewhere near the back if I tried to do it. I can almost guarantee you that. But yeah, these guys doing and that's Rivard with a half spin, just stamped on the brakes and saved it from certain peril there. But yeah, I think sadly he might have just might be the end of his challenge. However, they might start battling this lot, and you never know.
Yeah, this in fact, iRacing does in fact not have flat spots, so locking up your tires won't exactly cause that much damage or harm to your race pace. Scott Andrews has a look along the outside. He goes for the race lead. Dan Clark possibly wanting to have a look at this as well in the wake of Scott Andrews' car. So Scott Andrews does make that move, work into the race lead. They come upon the S's, and this is where you have to try to select the best line in order to retain your position. Andrews up to the race lead, and this is lap 10. Brilliant driving by these drivers.
Yeah, great onboard shots we're looking at of Max Esterson as he just sets the fastest lap of the race in pursuit of these 3, Andrews, Mullen and Clark. And Esterson doing the sensible thing at the moment, just kind of waiting there to see what's going to happen and see if, like in race 1, there is any grief to be had between the drivers at the front of the race. Jackson Lee he had dropped off to 1 second behind, but he's now right on this pack again. He's just behind Miles Crabb, who's just about hanging on. We're on board with Lee. There we go. That's what 0.7 of a second looks like, ladies and gentlemen, in real time. And you can see Jackson Lee's really hustling the car way, because he knows if he loses that slipstream, well, that's him done and dusted in terms of the win. But if he can just stay with this pack, he's still got every chance, as race 1 proved.
Because Andrews and Mullen, it has been just these two drivers who have exchanged race leads. But who was this? Esterson, he did try to have a look at making it 3 wide, but of course thinks better of it not making that work. Of course, he backs off. Esterson backs off a little bit, and he hands third position to Dan Clark. Of course, it's
Yeah,
all about trying to make the best, or rather, it's all about trying to plan your moves in advance, and it's not always that you have to gun for the next higher position.
lapped car in there as well, which won't please Jackson Lee, as he's trying to stay with this group. And that traffic in between he and the group, that's Ryan Bjerke. All it will be doing is preventing Jackson Lee from staying with this group. So really, Bjerke probably, he's dived out of the way for the rest of them. Probably should dive out of the way for Jackson Lee as well, really. But again, it's like gonna mind some backmarkers are gonna mind of their own. I know because I'm often one of them, but it's yeah, I don't see why he's dived out of the way for everyone else and not for Jackson Lee. I'm sure there's some kind of explanation there, but I'm not sure it could be a particularly good one at this point. Finally, he gets out of the way. I mean, he's only he hasn't really helped Lee's cause much at all. But there you go. Mullen and Andrews still side by side once more, and Esterson's trying the outside line where he's looking maybe just exploring and seeing what he can get away with.
Andrews back to the race lead, and this is shaping up to be very exciting. We do have 4 laps to go at this point. Oh, it looked like someone had possibly gone around at that point. Or it might be just me seeing things. I think these drivers are fine. Sorry, I did see things. I did imagine things. And Scott Andrews still has the race lead. Dan Clark in third, because he has 3 positions ahead of where he began from.
Well, I think this is the time when it's going to get very, very good indeed, because this is where the people are going to be trying to position themselves for the last charges and the last lap or two. So yeah, stick with us here. We've just got 3.5 laps to go here at Motorsport, and it's going to be some wild ride, I reckon, before now and the end of the race. Andrews by 2.5 tenths. Really, the gaps are kind of immaterial, unless really you're Jackson Lee in 6th place, who's just on the threshold of that slipstream, about 9 tenths off of this pack. And this pack way is absolutely motoring along, because they've got 4 lots of slipstream really to work with.
Yeah, it had been pack racing all race long. Mullen along the outside into the entry of the S's. Of course, he's going to have to try to make this work. Oh yeah, he would make it work. Okay, he has closed the door on the race lead, and they come upon the final corner. This is your new race leader
he's
at
almost
this
pushed.
point.
He almost pushed him through the last corner. That's how close they were.
Oh, nearly did, in fact. So, well, look, it is all about being at the right place at the right time at a circuit like this one, the Motorsport. And Mullen had played his strategy well, and he has the race lead. But of course, Andrews does not want to let this go so easily just yet. And they come upon these corners again. Oh, it would look like Andrews has opened the door to Dan Clark, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he really did. And Clark, he was looking for the lead, was Andrews. And then Clark just says, well, if you're going to give me an opportunity with 3 laps to go, I am indeed going to take it. To the double right-hander at Moss. And, off! And that's Ryan Bjerke. Spinning round in the background. He's managed to recover. But Clark then on the prowl for the lead. This is the time for him where he's decided enough is enough. I'm going to try and win this one. And is he just going to clear Mullen? Well, he might clear Mullen, but he's got Andrews on his outside. And Mullen's on his inside. They're looking for 3 wide here through this right-hander. It's a terrifying corner, this. And they've just just managed to do it, I think, but there's going to be contact. Yes, there is, between Clark and Andrews. Andrews spins across the front of everybody. I think it might have collected Miles Crabb, or Miles Crabb just avoided it, one or the other. But again, once again, where the fine margins ended up getting quite a bit too fine there.
Yeah, they go a bit heavy. You know, the Skip Barber is just one of those cars that you don't want to exactly push that much, because it does come back and bite you when you least expect it. So we have lost Scott Andrews for the race lead contention. So it will be up to Dan Clark and Colin Mullen at this point. Of course, Clark was sitting in third for majority of the race, or fourth rather, and he is now in the race lead. So, but is this going to change at this point, as Mullen is obviously very, very close as they come upon the backstretch?
Mullen was the pole sitter. He's very, very quick. Clark's shown tremendous race pace throughout this meeting, and he's not got too long before before we will see who's going to take this win. We're going to come round the last sector, and then we're just going to have one lap to go. The white flag's going to be in the air, and hopefully these two aren't going to be in the air after colliding, because that was very, very close to a collision. But that was very, very well driven by Clark, and Clark doesn't want to go for the outside there, because that's what happened on the previous lap with Scott Andrews. One lap to go here, Way.
Final lap indeed. It has been such an exciting race so far. Colin Mullen is your race leader at this point, but the battle is not over yet at this point. Max Esterson is in third. And while these two drivers, Clark and Mullen, they are going on the defensive. And wow, this is such an intense battle as they go down this corner. It is a turn two, sorry. Yeah, they come around this corner again. Any overtaking moves that can work at this point? Dan Clark is not ready to give up just yet. Of course, Mullen had the race lead for longer than Dan Clark has, but it will be anyone's fight at this point.
It's all going to come down to that final straight, and the last sector, see if there's any moves done. Incidentally, Zachary Rivard's just set the fastest lap, as he's recovered into the top 6, and he's now a part of that battle for third. But we're going to stick with this battle for the lead, because for the final time they go down the back straight here at Motorsport in Canada, and Colin Mullen is on the inside. Dan Clark's on the outside. Clark noses ahead, but can he clear Mullen into the final sector? We've seen that's the problem. That's been the problem all along. I think he hasn't cleared him yet. He hasn't cleared him yet. This is a tiny overlap. Is Mullen going to go for it? He is going to go for it. Clark runs a little bit wide, the side-by-side, wheel-to-wheel through the final sector. They've got a left-hander and a right-hander to go. Clark's on the inside for the left. He's going to be on the outside for the right. Mullen's going to try the block. He's going to try and block on the final corner. I don't think it's worked, but they're going to be side-by-side to the line. It's going to be super close. And Dan Clark's going to win race 2 here in the FRP iRacing Challenge. What a race. We had crashing in the background. Zachary Rivard's on the podium after he was facing completely the wrong way just a few laps ago. And this is why Esterson and Andrews getting together on the final corner way. What a lap.
What a race finish. It is so unprecedented. Of course, Dan Clark won by such a photo finish. You have no idea how close these drivers were. 700ths of a second was the lead that Dan Clark had at the very last minute. Of course, the last minute move up to third was by Zachary Rivard. That was owing to that last minute incident, and we just did not see this coming.
Absolutely fantastic finish. I mean, that's one of the best. That's one of the best finishes I've seen in single-seater racing on iRacing.com, and yeah, brilliant stuff from Dan Clark to take that win. Colin Mullen was very, very close indeed to taking that one as well. Zachary Rivard, just a word for him. I mean, he had that half spin. He was 5 seconds off the lead way at one point, but he gained a couple of seconds back when they were all battling, and then when the other guys got into difficulty, he got into that group for third, and then managed to avoid everything on the last lap and get P3 and
Oh yeah, another pint, everybody. Look, yeah, this goes to show how beautiful of a race that these skip barbers can put up for all of us. Andrew, we do in fact have post-race interviews at this point.
We do. That's if I've got enough breath left to be able to conduct them. But we'll just have a quick look and see who we've got. And yeah, in fact, it is indeed the man we were just talking about. Zachary Rivard joins us in the commentary box. Zach, what after facing the wrong way halfway through the race, I don't think you would have imagined you'd have managed to take third place in the end.
Yeah, it was tough. I was happy with where I was. I was sitting behind Max, and obviously he showed really good speed. So I was pretty confident that at the end of the race, he and I could kind of move our way up and sort of figure it out with the draft at the end. But uh, but yeah, I kind of just made a mistake, drove off the track and spun. So from there, it was just putting my head down, trying to put fast laps in, and luckily they sort of helped me a bit at the front with racing really hard. So yeah, I was
That's the
surprised.
thing. They got into some issues, didn't they? And that put you back in that pack, that second pack.
Yeah, definitely. It sort of worked out well for me. After I spun, I thought, yeah, all right, well, this is where I'm gonna finish. I guess I'll, hopefully just try to get fast lap. But then, when they had their issues, they it worked out perfect for me, where they like formed a drafting train for me to, put a quick lap in.
Yeah, and you did set the fastest lap of the race, which coincided with them having that trouble. Once again, this series just really delivers. Do we have any word yet if there's going to be any more rounds or what?
I
'Cause it's been
don't
fantastic so
know.
far.
Yeah, it's been a ton of fun. I mean, the racing is, at the front of the pack, everybody is so close in speed, and it does lead to some people maybe making some moves that they shouldn't. Um, like in the first race, there was a bit of that. Um, but yeah, it's great racing. I obviously love doing it. I look forward to Wednesday night every week.
I think in general though, I think I was saying this to Way on the commentary that I think it has been very clean and very. Look, I think just the nature of driving this Skip Barber and any of these slower single seaters means that you're going to be within inches of each other. So I think sometimes the contact's inevitable, isn't it? But when you've done, but the rest of the 98% of the race is wheel to wheel, and it's super close and super clean.
Yeah, definitely, and I think it's something to be said about the drivers up there, like Scott's from Australia, so sometimes
Mm.
with internet speeds, there's some net code, which is unfortunate, but they're even with people from all over the world racing, it was super clean.
Oh yeah, and well, I mean, it's been a great fun series. It's been great to have you in this championship. Um, well, before we let you go, then, do you want to give a shout out to your team, your sponsors, friends and family, whoever you'd like, really?
Yeah, first off, I have to thank Thursday Pools for partnering with me and working with me. So shout out to Pilar and Ed. Thanks to FRP, obviously, for putting this on. It's been a ton of fun. So hopefully we keep it going.
Yeah, it's been a brilliant series, and we've loved it every minute of it. And yeah, we hope there'll be more. We don't know. Come on, guys, maybe get your hands in the pockets and give us some more races. We'll see. It should be good. Thank you, Zach. It's been great to watch you racing these past few weeks.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, mate. Well, that's a fantastic performance by Zachary Rivard, and well, we're going to be joined. Weihan Chan is going to be joined by Will Liston.
G'day, how are you?
Hi, Will. Look, welcome to commentary booth. Now, look, I think we've all we've witnessed some amazing racing that had taken place here in the FRP series. Now, William, look, I do understand that you came home in ninth, and you were at various points part of many brilliant battles that have taken place. Now, could you please share with us the race from your perspective?
Yeah, Our race was quite good. I started 7th, and sort of once the quick guys started coming through, I didn't want to battle them too hard, but just wanted to settle into a rhythm. And I think the best part about this series is that while we're all locked down, we can just get some laps, and that's what I wanted to do. There's no point crashing out. You just want to get 16 good laps in and just have fun. And it's 16 laps that we can't be doing on a real track right now, which is unfortunate, but this is definitely the next best thing.
Surely, Andrew was just speaking to Zach earlier about the fact that you guys are we are all racing this skip barber, and the nature of this car does kind of require that you go close with the drivers, and it has produced some excellent clean close quarter yet clean racing. What are your views on racing a car like this? Do you think it does kind of prompt you to be extra cautious with the way you handle the car?
Yeah, I think it's a great car to use personally. The tow's very important, as it would be in a F1600 race. They're quite loose, but loose can be fast. You can have a bit of opposite lock and you're still quick, which is sort of the essence of F1600 racing. It's this low downforce, it's this slamming it through the gears and just sort of wringing the neck of the car. So I think this is probably the best replication of it I've found in iRacing.
Oh, that's such such amazing to hear. Yeah, look, I think
if you knock the wings off it, it's even closer representation.
Yeah, well,
exactly right.
I was actually in a Discord with Ryan Bjerke and Chris Kierst during both those races, and yeah, Ryan was really quite committed to making it a Formula F1600. Sorry, we call them Formula Fords in Australia. But he was very committed to the cause. He took the wings off it. It wasn't the best play, but it was it was definitely a commitment.
Yeah, awesome stuff, man. Will, look, before we let you go, would there be anyone you'd like to give a shout out to? Your sponsors, your team, or your friends? Anyone at
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, I'd like to thank Bob Wright for allowing us to join the series. Obviously, we haven't gotten our Listec race cars chassis over into the US yet, so it was really lovely of him to let us sort of run as an unproven team. But I'd also like to really thank the Listec Racecars team, which is my father, Paul, Joseph Ferrugia, Julie Liston, my mother, and everyone that's associated with that team, because the hours they put into building actual race cars and sort of doing the work in the shop, I'm just really lucky I can sit on my computer and represent them to you guys in America. We're just really, really fortunate.
Fantastic. So that was William Liston. He came home in 7th. And I think it was part of some amazing racing to take place. Now, before we proceed with the interviews, let's go over the race results. We did miss that out before the race interviews earlier on. So, of course, the driver who has come home to win this round here at Motorsport, it would be Dan Clark. Of course, by a tiny, tiny margin, by 700ths of a second against Colin Mullen. These two drivers had, of course, a brilliant battle. Zachary Rivard came home in 3rd, and Jackson Lee in 4th. Miles Crabb and Zachary Vanier in 5th and 6th. William Liston and Chris Kears came home in 7th and 8th, and Charles Ante and Brendan Newey in 9th and 10th. 11th would be Reese Everard and Max Esterson came home in 12th. Scott Andrews and Ryan Birker in 13th and 14th. Connor Klubin and Dylan Christie in 15th and 16th. Jason Petit and Elton Hook in 17th and 18th. Omar Khan and Megan Gilks in 19th and 20th. We also got various other drivers. Christopher Wright, Nolan Alea, Carl August, Simon Sykes, and Jean-Christophe Trehan, as well as Joe Selmans. These drivers round out your 26 driver field here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And we have also got Colin Mullen, and he is with Andrew Woodhouse.
Hi, Colin. Welcome to the commentary box. Can you hear us?
Hello. Yep, got you guys loud and clear.
Hello. Well, I'll tell you what. That was that looked like a lot of fun out there. Take pole position, great lap, and then a terrific couple of races. Take us through what happened tonight from your perspective, because we were really enjoying it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially racing with all the race prep guys. We were in a call of 5 of us, and especially in qualifying, the draft is just huge here. And we were working together as much as we could, and I just got a great tow on the back straight that lap to grab pole. Yeah, and Scott Andrews and I were actually in a call together. I think you guys thought that little punt at the end of race 1 was one of aggression, but we were working together and having a great time. So I was chasing him down in race 1, couldn't quite make it happen. But race 2, we just had a great battle up front
So you
the whole way through.
So you just decided to drive over his head at the end, yeah. No. I thought it was quite funny. There was no, yeah, I didn't think there was any malice in it. I did say
Oh
you
yeah.
weren't happy with finishing second though, so I'd be right. Um,
That
so
is true, but unfortunately I had to settle for that again in race 2. Dan Clark and I had a great battle to the end there. Scott and I were actually trying to hold him off for as long as we could, just working together up front. But eventually we got shuffled around, and yeah, just crazy last few corners. Thought I would try to make a move and send it up the inside on Dan, and it almost worked out. But unfortunately, he crossed me up and just pulled a textbook over under in that last corner. So it was, yeah, great racing, and happy to come home with 2 podiums this weekend.
yeah, you tried to block the last corner off. I mean, it was very, very close. There wasn't a lot of space for him, but he did. Yeah, he did just about make it work. I've asked everybody else about sort of how close the racing is and things like that, so I'm not going to sort of repeat myself too much. Instead, I'm going to ask you more about the track. What would you say? I mean, from an outside point of view, and having driven the track in, say, in like touring cars, things like that,
Yep.
I would say the hardest part of the track is probably turn 2. What about yourself in this car?
I think the hardest part about this track, I wouldn't say isn't one particular corner, but especially on the sim in this car, it takes 8 laps to get the tires up to temp.
Oh, really?
So we're fighting cold tires all the way through. The car changes drastically from the start of the race to the end of the race. So
Hmm.
I'd say that's the biggest learning curve. Like, we're in a call saying, okay, turn 1 is almost flat, on lap 5. And it takes 3 more laps to be able to really maximize everything out of the car. So especially around here, a lot of high-speed corners, very full commitment, but you can really stay in a pack with that draft on the back straight. So I think this is an awesome track for these cars. Just makes for some great racing, and I think we've definitely seen that today.
By the way, just a bit of I just need to ask you a question, which is a bit inside baseball. Is that Dan Clark in the interview channel below us?
Yes, that is.
Right, that's cool. That's cool because so we'll go and get him next. But Colin,
Awesome.
if you want to give shout outs to your sponsors and your team, friends, family, whoever you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, again, big thanks Race Prep for pulling me into this series. It's been a lot of fun and great racing with all the drivers. So if you're looking for an F1600 team, that's the guy to go with.
Oh, perfect. Well, thanks for joining us, Colin. It's been a pleasure watching you driving the last couple of weeks, and hopefully, it won't be the last time we see you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you. Well, Colin Mullen there, and we're now going to be joined, hopefully, by Dan Clark, who's with Wayhan Chat.
Hey guys.
That it was such a hi Dan. Look, hope you're having a good day. Look, it was such a close race finish. We did not even see that coming. The last corner overtaking move, and you just edged out the race win by what, 7/100ths of a second. Now, look, for most of the race, we did observe that you were perhaps in third and fourth, whilst you kind of witnessed the lead change take place, like perhaps more times than you could count. No, but I think the last minute move for the win was really unprecedented. So huge congratulations on that, on edging out our friend Colin Mullen for the race win. Now, could you please share with us the race from your perspective?
Yeah, these 2 races at Motorsport, really a game of chess. In the first race with Scott, I was quite happy for a moment. I could see that he was willing to trade spots, and maybe we have a chance to get in a break, and then we can have our own race. And that didn't work out. And then the second race was kind of eerily calm. We were just sitting there, and I got this feeling that Max had something up his sleeve, and he was just waiting. And he had an idea of when to move. But then it didn't pan out that way right at the end. But I really thought something's going on here. I feel like Max has a plan. I don't have a plan.
Well, that's great to hear. Now, look, I think possibly the way this circuit is might have played in shaping the nature of this race. You know, this track is narrow, and the corners you have to be absolutely on top of your car. If not, it's very easy to kind of lose it, especially with turns 2 and 4, and also a bit of the Moss corner where you just want to keep your car within the white lines. Now, how do you think the track has played into the way the race had went, especially with a car like the Skip Barber?
Yeah, it's been. I'm really glad we got to come here. I think there's a huge long history of Formula Ford racing. Well, I grew up racing Formula Ford in the UK, and she was lucky enough to win the festival one year. And this is a lot like Brands Hatch, and there's so many, you know, to the limit on the limit corners that the brave really shine through, and obviously it's such high speed. There's just going to be so much drafting, so you can't take it easy. You can't get a break really. And it's really cool that we got to race here. I think this race just turned out exactly how I think a Formula Ford race would have.
Wonderful. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank? It could be your sponsor, your team, your friends.
Yeah, Brad Hayes Racing. We've been in communication for a couple of years, and we met a long time ago. And Brad offered the opportunity to come do this race. And it's, if you've raced professionally and you've kind of made a name for yourself, when someone says, "Do you want to come race against the junior guys again?" The really hungry kids. That was me almost 20 years ago, and it's not easy to do that. And this race, the way it panned out, no one could have predicted, and it was almost anyone's race. But I'd like to thank Brad and Brian for their help, and also the teammates, Ayrton and Jason, pushing me along as well, and also my family watching. My wife Emily is upstairs right now. Hopefully, she's not going to squeal when she hears this, but
She
for
was
letting me
probably
race
screaming
the
at the
simulator.
TV about 15 minutes ago, though. That was amazing fun.
Yeah, I screamed first, but obviously there's a tape delay, so she
Wow.
probably didn't know what was happening. She thought I probably got in a wreck again.
Oh, that's awesome. Fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this was Dan Clark, your race winner. Of course, he put up such a stellar show for all of us. We have also got another driver. It would be Miles Crab, and he is with Andrew Woodhouse.
Right, Miles, last one of the day then. Sorry to keep you waiting too long, but you must be very happy about that today.
Yes, today was very good. Same results as Lime Rock. Third and a fifth. That's I have no business being up here with these guys. I'm not even a driver and well autocross in real life, but I haven't competed wheel to wheel yet. I'm just a crew guy, so being able to hang with the F1600 kids is a whole lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to race with these guys. They might tear up some equipment from time to time, but you can usually trust them to not do anything stupid, so you can drive full tilt boogie the whole time.
I think that's pretty much what we were saying is that 99% of the time it was very very good, very close, and very clean. In terms of your, especially the first race, um, you did fall quite a fair bit back, didn't you? But then ended up taking advantage of that massive smash to come through and start third, wasn't it, for the race team?
Yeah, I didn't have that great of a qualifying session. I didn't have a drafting partner, and not in a team with four people to play with, so it was kind of a disadvantage. I think I started 14th or 15th,
Mhm.
and then survived turn one, and coming out of turn two, had a little bit of a Moses moment where the seas parted and I kind of just shot through. I think it was 7 spots I made up, and then just worked with Zach to try to catch back up to the lead pack. Uh, Zach number two had a little bit of a spin, and I wasn't quite able to catch up with the lead guys, and then just hung on until uh, the theory of if you get enough 1600 drivers together, cars start exploding occurred. Um, but yeah, very lucky to have that third place finish when I was really probably should have finished eighth.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous sort of not lucky, but you were in a position where, in a way, you could, in the end, you could take advantage of it. we've had a lot of fun covering these races over the last few weeks, and you know, we're hoping there's more races. We don't exactly know what's going to go on yet, but what's it been like in this Skip Barber car for yourself? Have you enjoyed driving this car?
It's a lot of fun because it's one of the few cars in iRacing you can push way over the edge, and you can't do it on lap 1, but after about lap 5 you can drive it as hard as you want to and make mistakes, and uh, it won't try to kill you. You have to be kind of inch perfect in some spots, and curbs aren't its friend, but uh, it's a fun little low horsepower drafting machine. And it's a lot of fun when you have a lot of people you can trust to run wheel to wheel, which league racing, and especially league racing with very good real life drivers, lends itself to.
All right. Well, we've certainly had a hell of a lot of fun watching it. If you would like to give the last shout outs of the day, as we've just got a couple of minutes left.
Sure, I got a couple. Number one, my mom and dad are watching, so hi mom, hi dad. Also got to thank Brandon Dixon for basically getting me in the FRP paddock. He unfortunately his wheel died after Lime Rock, so he was not able to compete. He is citation engineering, basically. Got to thank Bob Wright for putting everything on, and all the officials for helping. I know Mike and I think one more other person was involved in it, along with Max for actually doing a lot of the legwork. And I think Who's Your Tire came on with this, so I'm going to assume Bruce Foss was involved in it. So we got to thank Bruce Foss at Who's Your Tire.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Miles, for joining us in the commentary box. And as I said to the other guys, I hope we get the chance to speak again soon.
Yep, and y'all have done a great job too. So props to
Hey,
y'all.
look, thanks for that, because we've had a blast really with this. It's been brilliant. So yeah, thank you very much. Nice to see you. All right. Well, Miles Crab there, Weyhan, and that is going to conclude, at least for now, the FRP iRacing Challenge. And it's been a great few weeks, hasn't it, so far?
Oh, it sure has been. You know, I did miss the first round. I wasn't available. I wasn't around to cover that first round. But last week was such a blast over at Laguna Seca, and with a race like this at Motorsport to top it all off, it has been such an amazing 3-week long FRP iRacing season, league season, in fact. And we just kind of look forward to more of these to come. We really hope that this racing can continue here on iRacing. It's just kind of brought out the best in all of us, in terms of racing, with all the quality racing that has taken place.
Well, if not, I'm definitely going to be trying to watch these guys racing in the real world when that gets back to action in hopefully soon. Thank you everybody for watching here on Apex Racing TV. As I said, it's been a great few weeks from us. We've really enjoyed it. Thanks to Weyhan Chan for joining me for the last couple of weeks. Thanks to Frederick Nichtel for the cameras. Thanks to Austin Knight, who was here on week 1. But for now, I've been Andrew Woodhouse. This has been the FRP iRacing Challenge. If you like what you see, like the video, subscribe to the channel here, and follow us on all the equivalent social media. So thank you very much, everybody, and from all of us here, it's good night.